Welcome back to the YTG podcast.
Welcome.
You are new here, my name is Niko. I'm an automotive photographer and now amateur racing driver.
I'm Sean, and I am the owner of this lovely shed in Keysborough, YTG Young Timers Garage.
Here
Welcome.
on the weekly-ish YTG podcast, we're going to give you the sort of inside scoop inside the automotive industry in Australia, as well as some fantastic stories, motorsport, anything car related. So, and a bit of electric car hate. Join us on another episode, and we hope you enjoy. Welcome back to a very special episode. You'll notice immediately for those watching, there's no Sean this week, and I am joined by a special guest for a photography special, Ben.
Photography special, yes.
Also known as Life Through Optics. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Thanks so much for having me, dude. I'm excited.
Mate, I'm so excited for this. It's going to be awesome. So I'll get the formalities out of the way. For our regular viewers, this is going to be a feature-length photography special. So if you're not interested in listening to us camera nerds talk camera stuff and car stuff, because we're both
It's not going to be all camera stuff.
But yes, if you're not interested in an hour and a half of cameras, feel free to jump to the next episode and we're back to Sean and car of the week and all that regular stuff, lots of swearing. And for our new audience who will be coming here based off Ben having shared this on his social media, welcome to a car podcast in Melbourne hosted by a luxury car dealership. You will have heard in the intro that played just before we jumped in here all of the stuff about who we are and what we do.
Yep.
So I hope you really do enjoy this episode. I'm so keen for this. It's going to be fun.
Let's do it. We've got a lot to dive into.
Mate,
I'm
so
excited. Yeah.
let's kick things off. What have you been up to?
Not much. I mean, I say not much, but I've been traveling around. So for basically 6 out of the last 9 weeks, I've been overseas running around doing a bunch of stuff. The first thing was a work trip over to the UK, Germany, and Switzerland. And with it being summer over there, the automotive scene just fires right up into life, right? So I was there for Goodwood. I didn't even realise that the Grand Prix was happening, even though I'm a Formula One fan. So
Silverstone?
Yes.
Oh.
I completely dropped the ball on that, dude. I should have been straight in, got tickets, this, that, the other. But I was actually up in Scotland while the Grand Prix was happening, shooting a bunch of cars. And while I was up in Scotland, I had this crazy day with my mate Callum, who's another very prolific photographer up there. We shot like 10 cars in a day. He picked me up at the hotel at 7 o'clock in the morning. We went until 11:30 midnight that night.
Full on.
Yeah, full on. So it was great fun. And the guy that we actually took photos with in the morning was the guy that came up with GTA. Like, he was the guy that created Grand Theft Auto.
Really?
Yeah. So we turn up to this beautiful gated property at about 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know who this guy was. You drive in, stunning house, basically stables.
Yep.
But instead of horses, it's just full of cars.
Yeah. Like Ed Bolian. Have you ever seen Ed Bolian's house?
Absolutely. Yeah, that sort of vibe.
Yep.
Absolutely. But like even bigger than Ed's house.
Wow.
And then, out comes a 911 993 GT2. 993 GT2 in this really nice blue exterior color, blue interior color. He was the first owner from new, got it in like the mid 90s, and one of only a few right-hand drive examples.
Yeah, right.
So I shot that. Then we did his 765 LT after that. There was a 720S knocking around. And then we went to see his collection of 50 cars or more that was in the nearby city. Can't remember the name of it.
And he lives up in Scotland?
He lives up in Scotland.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was wild. And then other than that, just basically flew into Germany, my first time into mainland Europe, to meet up with a friend of mine who has an M4 Comp and a 992 GT3 RS. Shot both of those cars on 2 different days. Flew over into Switzerland to see my mate Phil, who's got a 996 Turbo and a GT4, 981 GT4.
Okay.
And basically just took it up the Swiss Alps and went on drives and just shot the cars.
Are you driving them as well? Or
No.
Okay.
We're not quite there with our relationship yet, me and Phil. He's a lovely guy, but I had no expectation ever to drive his pride and joys.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then made it back to Australia. Then a few weeks after that, headed out to Colombia and Mexico, but that was more of like a friend's wedding and then a couple of other bits and bobs. So, but now I'm back in Melbourne and getting back to work and into the community. again.
Yeah.
So, because I've missed you guys.
Mate, and that's very much where like your success, I guess, has come from, has been community engagement, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really just been getting in and around the community and bringing people up in this photography automotive space. And because of doing that, they also assist me as well.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than that mutually beneficial, like reciprocal relationship where everyone just gets better together. And that's like one of my
100%.
sort of catchphrases at Life Through Optics is getting better together, because that's what it's all about.
Love it.
So yeah, man.
Love it. So for our regular audience who won't know who you are, give us a elevator pitch, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Ben Hargreaves, aka Life Through Optics, and I'm an automotive photographer and content creator from Melbourne. And basically, I live and breathe everything cars and everything photography. And where those two things meet, that is just my bread and butter. That is literally all I want to do with my time. Like I'm sure you as well.
Yep.
Like you know the vibe exactly. It's all I want to do with my time. And then I've managed to, over the last couple of years, I started shooting when I was 29. A couple of years ago, 2022. And then over the course of 2022, 23 and 24, just grown on social media, grown a bit of an audience over there.
A bit of an audience.
It's been wild, like blown up to things that I just can't even ever dream of, because I was sitting there just wishing back in 2022, I just 10,000 followers would be great.
Yeah.
And then it just eclipsed that. And I'm still not used to it. I don't think I ever will, just because, I don't know, it's such a strange position to be in.
Yeah. Whoa. I'll actually hold you there, because we've got a question from the audience, which is exactly on that topic. So I'll bring it up right now. I'll jump straight into it.
Yeah.
Someone has asked us, and I won't bother with names. We don't bother with names because we get them wrong and everything else. But one of the listeners who replied to the story has asked specifically you, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? Is that something you've experienced, and how do you cope with that?
The answer is I don't deal with it, because I just feel it every single day crushingly. So that's a very blunt answer to the question. But a more long-winded answer is I think it's important to realize that, I don't know, for me, nothing's really changed. Like, yes, my life has obviously completely changed. And, I used to work a 9-to-5 corporate job as of pretty much a year ago, almost to the day. And now I'm a full-time automotive content creator and photographer. And that switch up in such a short period of time has led to the imposter syndrome, because there's so many people that I follow and that I enjoy watching their content, seeing their photos, and I know they've done it for a decade. And here I am, I've just blown past them in terms of the socials.
Yeah.
Obviously, my work is still not there as well, which doesn't help with the imposter syndrome, because I look at people like, Mikey North Borders. I look at people like Alex Penfold, Tom Collar, all these amazing creators that I really love, and I just can't stack up. But you put me side by side on paper, and I'm right there with them.
Yeah,
which is very
wild.
weird. It's very strange. So that's the answer. I don't really deal with it. I just put my head down and move on as best as I can every day, and just try and make people that I interact with, just make their lives a little bit better in turn, while in turn just getting to do what I love. So that's what I'm all about.
100%.
So
100%.
Yeah, try not to get too focused on all the metrics and all the numbers, just focusing on those little everyday actions. Yeah.
Do you think there's much to be said in imposter syndrome being somewhat connected to self-belief and humility, or humility to the point of a lack of self-belief?
Yeah, I mean, it's like self-deprecation, cross between humility, cross between, I don't know, some self-belief or some sense of self that is a little bit, I don't know, it does waver from time to time. So yeah, I definitely think you're on the money there. But
do you cop much hate?
Not really. I mean, it's only happened kind of in the last 6 months that I'm seeing a little bit more.
Yeah.
But during the blow up, everything was so positive, because I was just out there shooting every single weekend while working my 9-to-5 job, and then posting on social media every single day. I've nearly posted twice a day every day for almost 2 years straight at this point. So there was this really like positive momentum around everything that I was doing. And now that I've reached this point and I'm a full-time creator now, full-time photographer, I've got all the followers, blah, blah, blah. That's when the hates kind of started coming in.
Okay.
So I'm still adjusting to that. But like I had a good conversation with Sean just before.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's been around this industry a long time and has copped his fair share. So yeah, I was just kind of picking his brain about that and got some good advice, which is cool. But it's nothing too crazy. It's all generally positive, but because I'm not used to it, one comment can floor me for a day.
Yeah.
Which
for
it has.
Sure.
It has. You know, because I'm running this like photography and social media workshop at the moment. And like in my previous 9-to-5 career, I was a lecturer. I worked for Monash Uni and I did project management, industrial design and lecturing. So I'm used to running, you know, lectures in front of class sizes of 200 students, both in person, online, all through COVID.
I can't imagine you being the university lecturer. That's so
weird.
weird.
Literally button-up shirt, beige pants, 200 students, slides, like microphone, like lot. Even like, you know, fully lapel mic'd up.
Wow.
So I feel very comfortable in that sort of teaching space. And
you would have looked as old as half of the students.
Well, that was the issue. Like when I started teaching, I think I was 24.
Jeez.
Yeah, teaching into a Masters of Food Science in Agribusiness, all about innovation and consumer behaviors and marketing.
Oh my God.
And the students in there are like 23 and I'm 24.
Yeah.
So that was weird. But yeah, basically I've been doing this kind of photography, social media workshop. I've got a massive passion for teaching. And then that's where the hates sort of started coming up because they're like, oh, this guy's so new to it. Like, what does he have to teach me?
Right.
But what they don't see is the journey and also the fact that I'm 31 now and I've had a professional career for 6 years and I've been at uni for 8 years and I've made it through high school. And now I've only just discovered photography. But because of everything I've learnt in my life, that's the reason why I was able to accelerate so quickly into this.
You don't get to 800K without learning a thing or two.
And it's this amalgamation of life experience that I bring to it, you know? So anyway, that's kind of like imposter syndrome, hate. I feel the doubt, the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, and copped a bit of hate most recently just because of that whole workshop thing that I'm doing. Wow. But it's like what I just spoke to Sean about. It's about realizing that you're doing it for the right reasons. You're out to help people. There's no malice behind anything that you're doing.
Yep.
So the hate has no ground. There's no footing for it because you're just out here trying to help people.
Yeah.
Because that's ultimately what I want to do.
Yep.
Like I worked out how to turn my passion for cars and photography into a job in 1 year and 7 months. And I want to help other people do that because working a job you hate is just the most soul-crushing thing you can do in life. You know, I've been there, I've done that.
Yeah.
I will never go back again. And I will tell as many people as I possibly can, shout from the rooftops that don't just go to uni because everyone else is. Don't just get that job because everyone else is. Like, sit down with yourself and think about what do you want to do with your life?
Yeah.
Because I didn't do that. Like, I just rushed through like high school into university because my teachers and society told me that that's what everyone did. And then got the job basically while I was still finishing my final year of uni. I got into the job and I stayed there for 6 years.
Yeah, geez, so you would have been in school for a long time.
Yeah, I was basically no gap year after high school.
Jeez, just
no
high
time
school,
to think.
uni, teaching uni.
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah, well, it took, I worked for 2 years before I started doing the teaching stuff.
Okay.
And then I kind of found myself in there just because there was just a lack of people to teach this subject.
Right.
And we were coming at it as like industry professionals teaching this thing. So yeah, man.
Wow.
It's been a wild journey.
All right. So let's have a bit of business chat because I really like the fact that we've got two young 20-something-year-olds, but you're definitely not 20-something anymore.
No, I'm 31 now.
It's wild because you look 22.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
That's insane.
Thank you very much. Cheers
but you've
to
got
that.
two young early 30s/late 20s guys who both pay the bills using a camera.
Yeah.
Which is something that many guys out there, I'm sure, would aspire to do or, you know, dream to do, whatever the case may be.
100%, yeah.
And we've both gone about it in totally different ways.
Yeah. And man, that's what I love about this industry is because there are so many different ways to go about achieving the same result.
Yeah.
We both we love cameras, we love cars, and we want to make a full-time living doing it.
Yeah.
So there's a breadth of ways to do that, you know? So, yeah, man. And I think you've gone down the more professional, conventional, like when I think
100%,
when I think of a professional photographer, I just think of you and just you absolutely smashing it. Whereas for me, the imposter syndrome kind of creeps in because I haven't been doing it for anywhere near as long as you. And my route is now more into the social media areas of monetization of a audience. So digital product sales, my workshop, my YouTube ad revenue, affiliate marketing, where you have links and people go through the links and buy stuff and you get a little kickback. And then a very small percentage of that is like working with brands and doing that sort of freelance piece.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
Which starts to cross over into what I do just a little bit.
Just a touch.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For me, if I reflect on how I got into my corporate job and what I was doing, I studied industrial design at uni and I wanted to be a designer ever since I was like 17. I love drawing. I love being creative, all that sort of stuff. And that was my passion, or that's what I thought my passion was. And then I turned my passion into a job. And by the time I was done with uni, I hated design, but I then landed the job and it reinvigorated me for a few years and then crushed me. Right? And I said to myself when I was getting into photography, when I picked up a camera, I said, I never want photography to feel like the job that I'm leaving.
Okay.
Ever. So I started, as anyone does with a camera, you pick up a camera, you go, right, I'm going to take photos, people are going to give me money. Right? That's how this is going to work. Okay? I take photo, you give me money. Yeah. It's like very
Who sells a photo these days?
It's like very simple. You know, you get a client, you take photos, they give you money.
Yeah.
And that's how I started. And that's how, you know, all my students that come through the workshop, anyone that I speak to in public or on DMs, that is the best way to start making money as a photographer. Is you take your camera, you do a bunch of free stuff to build your portfolio. Then you start to land a couple of paid clients. Then you up your rates and blah, blah, blah. And I did all that. I did all that for a year, 2022 into 2023. I had my first paying client after about 3 months of shooting, and then managed to work my way into working with the lovely guys at Benzina Stables, absolute legends over there.
Yep. And that was on a contract basis?
Yeah. Yep. So that was like coming in every single week, doing all the dealership photography for the guys. But yeah, that got to a stage where, as much as I loved being around the cars, being around the team, working with the guys, it got to a point where, my other income streams were doing equally as well, if not better, which is one of the reasons why I kind of stepped away. But then the other reason was just it started to become very formulaic, in the sense that I would pull a car into the same spot and I would take the same exact photos and then I would move them and then do it for the next car and then do it for 6 cars, 7 cars, 8 cars in a day, and then go and edit the photos. And it was like, okay, how can I edit this set of images in like 30 minutes, 20 minutes? Like, how can I just apply a preset, minimal adjustments, and just like export, done? Yeah. And like, I was like, this is not why I got into photography. Like, I want to be creative. I want to travel. I want to work with amazing people. And I don't want the pressure of needing to always charge for services. And also just doing those really formulaic pieces to pay the bills. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I kind of plugged in, like learning about how to do marketing and sales, learning about how to build digital products, learning about how to build a workshop, like all of these other things. And I think it's so important as a photographer, if you want to do this full time, you have to make sure that you have a diverse array of income streams. It's like investing, you want to make sure you have a diverse investment portfolio so that if one drops away, you're still good. Yeah. And that was my approach to photography. Yeah. And I have to mirror that. So, yeah, dude, I'm really interested in hearing your journey too. Well, mine's a lot simpler in terms of the amount of steps that I took. Yeah. Because it was uni business degree after I lived in Canada for a year chasing an ice hockey career, funnily enough. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Decided that was nowhere near worth the amount of sacrifice from life
lived, because it would have been just hockey and away from family, friends, everything forever.
Well, dude, that's why professional sports people get paid so much, is because
it's
you literally, they buy your life.
Yeah, literally.
That's what they do.
Yeah, it is a huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
So that really scared me off that, but the year was awesome over there. Out of uni, chased some photography jobs full time.
Yeah. In Canada or back?
No, back in Australia.
Back in Australia.
So I came back to Australia after chasing ice hockey, did my 3 years of uni.
Yeah.
While I was doing that, I picked up using the camera regularly by that point, and I started to pick up the occasional... Is that camera all good?
My camera's just died.
Yeah. Do you want to change the battery?
Yes, please.
All right, we'll be back in a sec.
Yeah, sorry. Or it's overheated.
It could. Are you filming 4K?
Yeah.
It could.
It's up to you. Like, what I'm doing is I'm filming ISO, so each camera is recorded individually.
Yep.
So I can give you your camera clip if you want.
Yeah, it's killed itself. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll make a Dropbox folder or a Google Drive folder, and I'll put the individual clips in there as well as a fully edited one. That
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That'll do.
I appreciate that.
Maybe we can try turn it back on later and get
I need
another.
an FX30. Because that thing just keeps going and going. Yeah.
Make sure that before you leave, I grab your phone number and your email, and I'll just send that through.
Done. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So while I was at uni, I picked up occasional side jobs, one of them being the Australian Tarmac Rally.
Oh, wow.
I shot for those guys before
Yeah.
COVID hit. And so I had the occasional, what you'd call a freelance client, but
Yeah.
I was still
And
uni full time.
how much experience had you built up until this point of getting this big freelance gig? How long you been shooting
lot
for?
of personal shooting. I did a lot of car meets and that sort of stuff
Before you went to Canada?
and a lot of shooting. Yeah. So I started with the car meets and stuff before I had my license.
Yeah. So 15.
Yeah, because I just love.
So you're one of those guys. You're one of those freaks.
Definitely.
That starts that young.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
Yeah, and it was just it started out as just a fun expression thing and a way to remember the car meets, and just sort of grew from there,
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about me, which I'll come on to later, but I don't call myself a creative or a photographer, because I don't think I am. But that's a totally different topic for us to get onto.
All right.
Where do we get up to? Right. So I was at uni. I had a couple of freelancey style clients, but they were 1, 2, 3 times a year. It's not really what you'd call a reliable income. Finished uni and decided to look for a job using my camera in something car related, and picked up a job at Grey's Online shooting the cars.
Yeah, nice.
That they list up there. I did a day.
Oh, and then you were done.
I went, nah. No way.
Yeah, right.
They were just monkeys that just go click, click, click. It took every single thing that I enjoyed about using a camera and pointing at a car and just threw in the bin. It was horrendous.
Yeah.
I literally called them back that night and was like, I'm not coming back.
Sorry.
Nah, no good. And then hilariously, as literally that night after I'd done that, someone told me that Lorbeck had a listing for something.
Yeah.
And I had already done the Targa Florio for Lorbeck. So I had somewhat of a relationship with Shreco.
You had a bit of connection in there. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So I literally called him up and said, hey, you've got a listing going and I'm currently looking for work. Just finished uni. And he was like, come in. And the listing wasn't even for a photographer. He just put me in that photographer role and we just sort of ran with it.
What was the listing for? Can you remember?
The listing was for the stock manager.
Okay. Did you have to do a bit of that, or you just came in?
No, he just said, "I'll give you the other role if you go."
That's sick.
Yeah, so I started working at Lorbeck.
How old were you when that was all going on?
Well, it was end of 2021.
Yeah, right.
So 3 years ago. What am I now? 24, 25-ish?
Yeah, 24,
something
25,
like that.
yeah.
Yep. Worked there for a year and a bit, and regular viewers of the podcast know exactly how we feel about Lorbeck and our time there. It's where I met Sean.
Yep.
And so when I started at Lorbeck, I always knew that working for myself and owning a business was always my goal.
Yep.
And the idea behind Lorbeck was 12 months is my time limit.
Yep.
Because working full-time is not my goal.
No.
This will be a stepping stone, and it is an entry point into the highest end of the automotive photography market. Like the people I'm going to meet, everything else, right?
Absolutely.
So this is a great starting point.
100%.
So I
That's
set myself
one of the best.
set myself a time at 12 months. Worked there, started off amazing. I got a pay rise like a couple of weeks in. He was really happy with my work, blah, blah,
So
blah.
good.
And then the promises started to never be fulfilled.
Oh, that
and
is
then
the
COVID
worst.
hit.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit,
You're done.
it made it so much harder for him to fulfill the promises he'd made me.
Yeah.
And everything just went downhill in general. It
Yeah.
was crazy. Working conditions got worse, everything.
It's
and
just so bad. Like working for a boss where like I have this saying, and it's not unique to me, but if you say something, do it. And if you can't do it, don't say it.
Yep.
Because like I've worked for bosses like that, because I worked for like 9 years in hospitality, cafes and restaurants all over Victoria.
Yeah.
And I've worked for people like that. It's the worst.
It is.
You just feel like such a subhuman,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And you get stuck into this trap of, I want to leave, but he said that this is going to happen.
Dangling the carrot.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, got up to the end of the 12 months and
Yeah.
I went, this has not gone in a direction that I need it to go for me to be chasing my dreams and earning amount of money to be buying the cars in there, not working
That's
in
it.
there, right? So I went, something's got to change. And then about a month later, while I was figuring out what I'm going to do, by the way, I just had a kid at
Yeah.
the same time. So massively locked down financially now. I can't afford to just
No.
make a break and try because I have bills to pay and a kid to feed.
Yeah.
So that made things extra hard. And then Sean came and whispered in my ear because Sean was working at Lawbeck at the time. We were running Koenigsegg.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm doing my own thing and you're coming with me. And I went, cool. Sounds
Brilliant.
good.
And the rest is
Sounds
history.
good. And we quit a couple of weeks apart.
Yeah.
And Sean started doing this, and there was sort of a big sort of gap while he built this place.
Yeah, for sure. Before it started getting off the ground.
Yeah, well, I sort of went, did another Australian tarmac rally and started to build the rest of my freelance portfolio, which came from crazy ways where the photography job that I would do at the start would get me the in. But then the amount of different jobs that would come from that, and this is how we actually got onto this, required a whole bunch of different skill sets.
Yeah.
I had to know how to do social media marketing.
Yep.
I had to know how to do EDMs, all these different roles and things that people needed popped up.
Graphic design,
and
web
all
design
of it.
for me.
All of
like,
it. Yeah.
all that
And
sort of
people are
stuff.
just recommending. And, I met someone at Targa Florio who introduced me to someone else for track days.
Yeah.
And I started doing track days, and that's another gig.
Yeah.
And then the track day people introduced me to the actual Winton people, and now they're a client. And then Winton and the ASA body, they're all a thing. So now they're
So
a client.
good.
And, it literally just springboarded from
Yeah.
one client to the next to the next.
And
That
people
built up,
always-
and now Sean's another one of those. He's
Yeah.
just another contracted client.
Absolutely. And people always ask me, how do I get clients? And it's exactly what you just said. Like one thing will build into the next thing and
Yep.
into the next thing and into the next thing
Yep.
if you're prioritizing leaving everyone in a better position than before you first
Yeah.
met them.
Yeah,
like if that's
exactly.
your priority as a photographer or in any business, if you're just leaving people better off to having known you,
Yep.
then you'll really just find yourself going from one thing to the next to the next.
Yeah.
Because that's what I found when I first started.
Yeah. Yeah, you just got
and
to
then I just
push
hit this
the ball.
wall.
You just got to get it over the top of
Yeah.
the hill, and then it just starts rolling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I love that. That's literally like I would have loved to have found myself doing freelance stuff in a place like this. But yeah, I mean, I was stoked with what I was doing at Benzina and working with those guys. But again, I think it just became too formulaic for me. You
100%,
get to shoot
yeah.
some amazing stuff. You have an amazing space to do it in. But I'm sure for you on those days where you're
There's
shooting,
an element of that.
yeah, it's very
Yeah,
monotonous.
I mean, yesterday I shot car number 369 the exact same way.
yeah.
It's cool. I mean, the cars are unique, and you can kind of get into
the enjoyment
what
from
unique
that.
angle can I get from
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
car, But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just 6 hours of editing today, just,
Yeah.
applying presets and then cleaning up the floor in each shot. And
Exactly.
all of that stuff. So there's definitely an element to that, but I don't mind it because it's such a small portion of what I do.
Yeah.
That it's okay. It's not
'Cause,
like
you're doing
Lawbeck
so
where it
much
was
more.
every single
Yeah.
day doing that. That was not on.
Yeah, because you got the podcast, you're doing this, that, the other
Yeah,
thing. Like
exactly
you're doing all
right.
the social stuff for YTG. There's
Yeah.
so much going on. But yeah, for me, I guess like something that having grown the audience on social media and basing it around doing something that I love, and the fact that I'm not focusing so much on the freelance side of things, it means that, as a freelancer, you can get pigeonholed into one area. Like, let's say I was a local Melbourne photographer.
Yep.
If I wanted to go to Perth, all of a sudden I lose my network of clients. And yes, I might know a couple of people, but if I wanted to fly over there and do some work, it would be like starting from 0 or starting from 10 or something. Whereas like I just went to the UK, Switzerland, Germany, and just plugged myself straight into all these people that I'd been speaking with on social media for the last 12 months. And you meet up with them, you feel like you know each other already.
Awesome.
You know, so that is one benefit. And I always encourage every single photographer creative out there, growing a personal brand allows you to grow that global audience that you can engage with and grow your global networks, and you also grow your local networks at the same time.
Yeah.
So you can work locally, but then if I want to fly up to Queensland and do some work, if I want to go to New Zealand, if I want to go into Europe, I can, because there's people there and they know me.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
I basically just copied Mike. I just copied North Borders exactly, pretty much.
Big salute to Mikey.
Yeah, appreciate you, dude. Appreciate you.
No, we love Mikey. We love Mikey. I'm actually gonna. So we've done the Plymouth Superbird with the big rear wing. So that was shot yesterday, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab Mikey and potentially Sam, who is Lag Media. And go to Calder Park with it and do the Thunderdome with the Superbird. That's going to be cool.
Dude, that is the perfect place for that car.
Yeah, NASCAR on a NASCAR track,
Because I went up there in the Giulia Quadrifoglio, up the banked, banked corner. And it was hectic. I didn't realize it was so steep until I was literally driving up to it, and then about like the car just kept tilting, and I was like, oh god, yeah. And then I was like going around, and I just don't think I ever realized what happened.
It's terrifying.
It was really scary. But I managed to survive. I lived.
So good.
That was with Targa Classica earlier in the year.
Yeah. So
once again,
I
just
reckon
another
we need
thing
to talk about that, because that's something we've both done, is Targa Classica.
Oh, awesome.
But anyway, we'll finish off the business conversation with the final talk, and this was also a question, so we'll get onto this.
Yeah.
The question was, how do you make money?
Yeah.
Because it's something that most people won't understand.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to quickly start the conversation by comparing to what I do in a more classic sense.
Yeah.
Which is, I have clients. I do jobs for clients. I manage clients' social media accounts.
Yeah.
And they either pay me for a job or they pay me a retainer to do their social media. And I just make income off clients for the work that I do. And that's capped by the amount of hours I can work. So I've got a problem, right? I can't earn squillions because I can only have so many hours in the day, right?
Yeah.
So I've got to do something to level up, but that's the way that I make money. How do you make money?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a quote from Warren Buffett that I absolutely love, which is, unless you find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die.
Yeah.
So that's been very much my approach getting into photography. But as we spoke about before, I started out just like everyone else does. Basically, I have a camera, I want to take photos, and I want people to pay me to take those photos.
Yeah.
And it's just the best way to start off. So yeah, I did that for around 12 months, I think it was about a year and a half all up of like doing freelance work. But on the side, I was always very focused on, the social media side of photography and of this automotive space that I was entering into, this content creation space that I was entering into. And obviously you have to go for a very long period of time seeing literally $0 in exchange for your time.
Yeah.
So I was still working my 9 to 5. I was doing the odd freelance gig, started working with Benzina consistently every single week while still working the 9 to 5. That got to a stage where the guys were like, hey, what do you need from us so that you can quit your 9 to 5 and just work with us?
Right.
That was the stage that it got to. But that's when ultimately I was like, hey, this is feeling a little too formulaic, blah, blah, blah. But also what happened was I grew this big audience on social media, and that opened up these other income streams, which is so important. So my main source of income at the moment is through digital product sales and my workshop that I run. So teaching people how to build photography and social media based businesses.
Okay.
Basically,
so the workshop is teaching people how to do the social media thing that you do specifically.
Like I do, and like what Mike does, and Optical Wonder and Liam, Seventh Era, and all of these like photography creators, I call them. Like we are not photographers, we are content creators that do photography. And I know if Mike sees this, he'll probably hate me for saying that. But that's kind of how I see myself. I'm a content creator that does photography.
Yep.
I'm not a freelance photographer like you.
Right.
For example.
Yep.
So yeah, that allowed me to open up these income streams that allow me to make money while I sleep. So the digital products that I sell are things like preset packs, wallpaper packs. I also put out a bunch of free products and free content that means you don't even need.
I've downloaded some of them. Yeah.
Yeah, like my content mastery workbook.
Yep.
And my photography creator blueprint basically goes through everything that I teach in the workshop and everything that I share in the preset pack and all that for free. And then I also put up all these like editing breakdown carousels on my Instagram.
Love those.
Those literally are my presets. So if you just went in, like copied those settings and saved them, you'd get my preset pack for free. So like I have all these paid offerings that people buy, and I make a great living doing that, like very comfortable living, you know, more than I was ever making back at my 9-to-5 job, and more than I ever made in freelance, because I'm making money while I'm asleep.
Yeah.
All the American audience wake up and buy my stuff while I'm asleep.
Yeah.
You know, because of the time zone difference.
Uh-huh.
And then, basically through the process of growing that audience, putting out these product offers, you know, making content around documenting what I do with my camera and how I edit my photos and showing what I'm doing and being transparent and always looking to give more than I receive and making sure everyone comes away from a video with some sort of value. You know, there's these 3 E's of content creation: entertain, educate, empower. So that's what I'm trying to hit every time I put out a piece of content. And then when you grow that social media audience over time, which is inevitable when you're consistent, you plug in some digital product offers and then away you go. You just have to market those things. It became very, very good money very, very fast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's just almost an exponent of how big your audience is, right?
Yeah, for sure. So with, I think, 750 something thousand followers, it's all about conversion rates and eyeballs.
Yeah.
So the more people that I get looking at my stuff, so I think Instagram just changed the analytics. So from accounts engaged to views now, I don't know if you noticed that. So I get around like 9 to 10 million views a month, and then I was engaging between 3 and 4.
That.
Yeah,
yes.
I was engaging between 3 and 4 million accounts.
All the replays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's literally just conversion rates on that. You just tell people, hey, I've got something to sell. I really stand behind it. I've given it my all. I've made this the best possible thing it can be. I really hope you enjoy it. If you do decide to buy it, thank you so much for supporting me. If you don't, no worries. I've got a ton of free stuff coming out for you.
Yeah.
And what I've realized is when you go into this whole social media game looking to just make people, you know, a little bit better and teach people something and give people something in exchange for their valuable time that they've given you, then people are almost like ready to throw money at you.
Right.
They're just like, oh, Ben taught me this amazing thing and I used that thing on a shoot and it worked great. And wow, I've learned so much from this guy for free. Like, far out, let me just buy his preset pack. It's like $28. I spend $28 on like a steak at a restaurant, but I can like support Ben.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is, you know? And then, so that's coming in and earning a lot more than I ever made at my 9-to-5. I think I earned 5 times more than what I made at the 9-to-5.
That's full on.
And that was in a senior position, senior project officer, senior industrial designer, and a industry lecturer.
Wow.
Yeah. And I make like 4 or 5 times more.
That's a whole separate conversation, how you managed all of that by 24.
Yeah.
That's also pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's something I say to all my students is like, I don't know if you're a Marvel fan. Are you a fan of the Marvel movies?
Yep.
You know how in Captain America, the professor was speaking to Steve before he was about to get injected. They were sitting on the beds. And basically the summary of the conversation was the serum makes good people better. It makes bad people worse.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly what social media is. If you're a good person and you plug yourself into social media and you give yourself the opportunity to just say hello to the world. Hello, I'm Ben. I'm here doing my thing. I love photography. I love cars. I'm here to help.
Yep.
Then stuff's just going to happen. But if you're a bad person and you're looking at it just for you know, what you can gain from other people, then it's going to make you worse. And that's where you get all these influencers of the world that just can't seem to do anything right, and they're just a terrible influence on people out there. So it's this super soldier serum that we've got in our pockets. It's these weapons that we've got in our pockets, these little phones.
I like that analogy.
You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it makes good people better. It makes bad people worse. And I think when I was doing my 9-to-5 job, I was the exact same person. Like always, I just go into things looking at what I can give instead of what I can take.
Yeah.
And if you do that for long enough, like I was just speaking with Sean about, you build this reputation, and that's your silent spokesperson. You plug it into social media, and it's just steroids.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why it's all worked, because, you know, my parents, I know they're very biased, but they've been telling me for years that, like, oh, blah, 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 Ben, you're so nice, blah, this, that, the other. And I was like, oh, yeah, show off. You're supposed to say that. You're my parents. You're my parents.
Yeah.
But they obviously saw something in me, and all the people that I was working with at the university saw that, because it was year-on-year promotions every year that I worked there.
Right.
You know? And that's why I managed to rise to this senior position, like, so quickly. And then, it was just, I decided, hey, that world's not for me. I hate climbing the ladder. I don't like what it's doing to me. I don't like the people that I'm meeting as I get higher and higher in this organization. The people just get worse and worse.
How is that?
Yeah.
Wild.
Just because, like, you just encounter all these people that they're really just going, oh, who can I just shove out of my way to go up the next rung?
Literally.
Instead of like, oh, how can I just like make this place better? It was this really subversive, manipulative game.
Mate.
And I was done. Like, I hated playing that game.
Yeah.
You know, like, I was once told in this like performance review, basically by my supervisor, we had Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern visit New Zealand.
Oh yeah.
Visit New Zealand, visit the uni from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Because I was running this project with 6 or 8 New Zealand food and beverage companies.
Okay.
And like, her officers got wind of what we were doing. She loved the sound of it.
Wow.
And she wanted to come out to visit Monash to see what this program was all about, right? So I got to meet her, which was pretty cool. And in the lead up to all that, we said that we'd been given this fantastic opportunity to my supervisor. Hey, you know, I've just been rung up by NZTE, New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, which is like their kind of government agency. And they've said, hey, the Prime Minister wants to come out and see you guys. And then as soon as we told them that, all these people just came out of nowhere, came out of the woodwork, and they were like, okay, we'll take it from here, young man.
Yeah.
You know? But for me, like, this project's my baby. This is what I've, you know, spent the last 4 years building, blah, blah, blah. And I'm never the sort of person to shy away from sharing my opinions and sharing what I think and trying to add value to a conversation.
Yeah.
And I remember we were sitting in there having a meeting, planning the visit, and I was like, you know, engaging with the conversation, adding my thoughts in to all these really senior people. We get out of that meeting, my supervisor calls me aside and he's like, Ben, you need to just learn that sometimes you just need to be silent. And I was like, what the hell, bro? Like, here you are, like, seeing this 20-something-year-old dude that's built a program from nothing, that's brought the Prime Minister of New Zealand to the uni, and you're telling him to just shut up?
Wow.
Basically, that was a nice way of saying, I hate hearing the sound of your voice, please shut up. But I've since realised that he just might have felt threatened. There might have been something else going on.
100%. Yep.
And then that made me, like, for that period of time, want to, like, chase his job and be like, right, I'm coming for your job, mate. I want to be director.
Literally.
You know?
Yep.
But then I was like, nah, I don't want to play the game.
It's a slippery slope. My wife works as an engineer, so she's right in the middle of that ladder.
Yeah.
All about that. And man, some of the stuff that goes on is literally high school drama, proper high school drama.
It is.
And the thing that astounds me is the literally millions of dollars that are wasted because people have problems, personal issues with other staff members.
Yeah, I know.
You know, one staff member will have this amazing, brilliant idea to do something fantastic.
Yeah, and it saves
their
millions.
boss, who doesn't like them, will just stomp it and like, $4 million profit for the business? No, I don't like you. If you succeed in that, they're going to like you more than me. So no.
Yeah, so shove it.
It's wild.
Yeah. Or they'll be like, that's going to make more work for me, so I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do any more work. Even though I get paid 5 times more than you, I don't want to do any more work.
I couldn't stomach the corporate world because of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, nah.
Well, you never had to go into it, right?
Luckily,
Good.
no.
Good, but
the
you
university
live-
was the worst that I got.
For sure.
Of it,
But
yeah.
now you live it through your wife and you experience it a bit at uni. Like, don't even get me started on my uni experience. You get treated like you're just crap on someone's shoe. And like, for me, like the lecturers just treated me like I was just another name on a sheet of paper and didn't give me the time of day.
Wild.
But like, bro, I'm the customer. Like,
Yeah.
I'm 70,000 in uni debt. I mean, I've paid off nearly all of it, but I'm 31. I've still got uni debt.
Yeah. Those smart enough to have a look at what the rates on paying back heck loans are and work out how much money Ben's made based off paying $7,000 of extra.
You're working backwards. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, man, it's been a wild journey, but I have to say, like, I wouldn't change anything because the reason why I'm able to do what I'm able to do now is because of everything that I had to go through to get
I'm
here.
the same. Yep.
It wouldn't have happened maybe at all if any of those steps, any of those experiences that I had changed. Like
Yep.
it's like the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
One little thing changes and then I'm completely veered off. So I guess, yeah, man, it's just this case of I'm very grateful for all the experiences that I've had that have led me to this space, because that's why I was able to accelerate into it so quick. And coming into it a little bit older than everyone around me, you starting at 15, unreal. Coming into it as a 29-year-old going to car meets,
Yeah.
being surrounded by people like you, 15, 16 years
Yeah.
old.
Uh-huh.
But I had something that they didn't have, because I had this kind of sure-footedness and this sense of self that, hey, I really want to do this. Mm-hmm. And I had this like element of desperation because I had rent to pay, bills to pay,
Yeah.
things to pay off, a
Yeah.
fiance to look after, build a life together, all that sort of stuff. And I knew that it was like, it's going to be now or it's going to be never. I've got to like get this shit done, So I think that's why I just approached it with this, ferocity, basically.
Yeah.
Because
all of that business knowledge and everything else that you had from.
the lecturing knowledge, being like a manager, learning about stakeholder relationships, client
Yeah.
management, just being even something as simple as, invoicing, quoting, invoicing, sending a professional email,
Yeah.
all
It's
that
so
sort of
simple.
stuff.
The amount
Yeah.
of people I've met, even in corporate space, who cannot send a professional email.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, and it's just, it's a language that probably took me 2 years to learn. And I basically, when I first started in corporate, I pretty much just copied the email language that my supervisor used. Not the crappy supervisor that I was talking about. One of my good mates, Rod, shout out to Rod. He's probably not going to listen to this. But I learnt so much from the guy about, that whole corporate world and just how to be like a really stand-up person in that environment, despite all the rubbish that's happening. So I used to just copy him, how he spoke, how he sent an email,
Nice.
how he conducted himself in meetings, all that. I just like copied him, and I got this nickname at work, which was the sponge, because I just sat there and I just absorbed everything.
Yep.
Even if I wasn't in a meeting, I was like half listening to it
Uh-huh.
and then just taking it in. And then I was like ready to pounce when the time came to share
it.
something.
There's a great tidbit of knowledge for all
Yeah.
the listeners and all the young guys out there who want to be Ben.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Learn as much as you can.
Always.
Yeah.
And just show how keen you are to acquire that knowledge and how keen you are to use it to help the business, to help yourself get better, help people around you. Because it just sets you apart. Like if you're just sitting there actively listening to a conversation and then you have the courage to speak up and feel like you can be a part of it, that's such a big thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
And it's that eagerness to make the most of your time that I think makes you really stand out. And it applies to every element of life. I mean, I could put it into YTG terms here. Say we bring in a young kid.
Yeah.
And we bring him in, we got some jobs for him to do.
Yeah.
He's got a moment where he's sitting idle. Does he A, whip out his phone and start scrolling because he's got 2 seconds? Or does he B, walk around, oh, that car's got a number plate loose. I'll just fix that.
Yeah.
I've got 2 seconds. Oh, that car's got some dirt in it. I'll just go grab a rag and I'll quickly,
Yeah.
you decide how you spend
That's
your
how
time.
you set yourself apart.
And it's that stuff
Yeah.
that really does set you apart. 100%.
Yeah, it's those very small actions that all basically form this picture of who you are and build your reputation.
Yep.
And your reputation's so important. It's your silent spokesperson. People probably right this second are speaking about you. They're speaking about me. They're speaking about YTG because of this silent reputation that we've all built around ourselves. And that's exactly how you build it. Oh, a license plate fallen off. Let me just fix it. Like those small little things. And when I was working in the corporate job, working in hospitality, all that, like I used to just have a list of things in my head that I would just go through. So people would give me tasks, but then I would like have a list of backup things.
Yeah.
To then go through.
And no one's given you that list. You've made it yourself.
I just noticed stuff.
Yep.
You
That's
know?
it. Yep.
So yeah, this is becoming a bit of a career advice.
It is.
Sort of.
Well, we're about to finish this.
Well,
so
I used to do that at the uni because in these big internship programs I used to run, I'd have 40 students, 30 students, 8 food and beverage businesses from Singapore or New Zealand or whatever.
Yep.
And there was these students that were coming in and doing it as a science unit, and they had this assessment they had to do, which was interview with a professional. And for some reason, they chose me. They thought I was a professional.
Right.
But it was very much this sort of like discourse of just they would ask me questions and I would share career advice and all that. So like it is something I'm used to.
Yeah.
And then infuse into what I do now with photography, dude. Like
so good.
everything I've done has like led me to this point in my life, and it's insane.
I hope you guys have really enjoyed listening to the first half of this chat. We actually went for so long that I'm going to split this into 2 episodes. So thank you very much for listening so far. In the second half, we sort of ditch the business stuff and move more into the fun and the photography side and some stories.
Business is fun. What are you talking
cars,
about?
more into the passion side of it. So not that the business isn't passion for sure. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed so far. It's going to get even better next week in next week's episode. So we'll see you then.